Time now for our Mediaite moments, where we check in on the day's bias, buzz, and bull in the world of cable news and beyond. Every day in this segment, we call out media bias and hypocrisy. But today's segment is a little different, because I'm the one who's been called out. If I can dish it out, I got to be ready to take it. So I'll let you decide. It happened Thursday on a segment with journalist and entrepreneur Roland Martin, who was on the show to discuss President Biden's announcement that he wants to fund, not defund, the police. Martin has been a critic of police, and as part of our discussion, I challenged him on 2 tweets he'd sent out, one of which he tweeted 9 days before the segment, which said, quote, "Every cop should be fired." Another from February 4th, which said, quote, "Every cop should be prosecuted for murder." Now, these are the tweets. His words on this one were tweeted as commentary to a New York Times piece about a transgender woman named Jazima Goldring, who was awarded a $1.5 million judgment against 2 police officers in Atlanta for a false arrest. The other tweet was in response to an Al Jazeera story about the tragic death of Amir Locke following a no-knock raid in Minneapolis. Now, Roland is a seasoned journalist who chooses his words carefully, so I took them at face value. It seemed clear that he meant what he said in response to these stories, that, quote, "Every cop should be fired or prosecuted." Those were his exact words. They weren't taken out of a sentence or chopped together, and I think those are dangerous words, maybe just hyperbole, but I wanted to give him a chance to respond. But when we showed them on Thursday, we just showed his commentary in its entirety, but not the stories they were attached to. That's our bad. But I'm particularly sorry because it has allowed many, including Roland, to change the subject away from the inflammatory words. It wasn't intended as a gotcha moment. During the segment, there was some confusion because he didn't seem to recall the tweet and asked for context. What I'm concerned about is a guy with a reputation like yourself, longtime journalist, you've been in this business a long time, you've got a big name, you've got a big following, and you're out there saying all cops should be prosecuted, and I think that's dangerous.
No, hold up. You forgot something. All cops doing what should be prosecuted?
What? Well, let's read. Should we pull the quote from your Twitter again? All right. Can we put up Roland's tweets again, please? The 2 that we had in the introduction.
I have no monitor here. I have no monitor here, but go ahead.
Every cop should be fired. Every cop should be fired was the first one, and then the second one was every cop should be prosecuted for murder.
In response to what?
It's not a response. It's your tweet. It was an original tweet. It wasn't a response to somebody else. All right. While it was not a response to somebody else, and it was an original tweet, it was a response to the stories he linked to, a quote tweet. And we should have made that clear. And I absolutely should have had the full tweets in hand. But this context debate has obscured the real issue, the content. The context that it was attached to a story does nothing to explain why someone would say every cop should be fired. Let me offer an example. If I link to a story of a few radical Republicans or a few radical Democrats saying or doing something crazy, and I tweet on top of that, every Republican should be fired or every Democrat should be fired, I would be held to account for my sweeping indictment of one party or the other, regardless of any story I'd linked to, because that was the commentary. Those were my words, not these Democrats or Republicans, but every one. The obvious interpretation would be that I wanted to make it clear that I was mad at the party, and I made a broad statement about how every one of them should be fired, and I would have to answer for that. In 495 tweets and retweets, yes, 495, and that does not include likes, Roland Martin has accused me of being a liar and a hypocrite, and then there was this.
Dan is so in the pocket of police, he is so deranged when it comes to cops, that in his mind, I meant fire all cops. That is one of the most ignorant, ludicrous, ridiculous, crackish, meth-ish comments I've ever heard.
Now, I am glad to hear that Roland is now distancing himself from the tweets. That's what I was hoping he would do on the show. But instead, he and many of his supporters have spent most of their time attacking me over context that doesn't change the meaning of the words. I've always said that bad police officers should be held to account, but they should not be lumped in with the very good ones. I'm well aware that saluting the hard work that police do every day is not a popular position in today's media environment. But I'm not going to be intimidated or cowed by insults and attacks. Roland and I clearly disagree on certain issues in policing, but you're not going to hear me insulting him back. I respect Roland Martin, and I will just invite him back on the show if he'd like to discuss it further, because as always, I'm open to hearing all sides of a story, and in the end, you decide. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.